Iran says it is ready for a ground war that Washington has not officially announced, but that regional capitals are increasingly gaming out as U.S. deployments expand. An informed Iranian military source told Tasnim news agency that Tehran has mobilized over 1 million fighters in preparation for a potential escalation. The source said discussions around a possible U.S. ground intervention in southern Iran have triggered a surge in mobilization, with ground forces preparing to deliver what he called a historic hell for any American troops entering Iranian territory. The mobilization, according to the source, is not limited to existing forces. Tasnim also claimed recruitment channels tied to the Basij, the IRGC, and the regular army were seeing a surge of volunteers, a detail no independent outlet has confirmed. The claim comes from Iranian state-aligned media and has not been independently verified. But it lands in a context where Reuters has reported the Trump administration is considering deploying thousands of U.S. troops to the region, and where Trump himself said he is not putting troops anywhere while adding, "If I were, I certainly would not tell you." The source also addressed Kharg Island, the strategic oil export hub that handles about 90% of Iran's crude shipments. As U.S. options around Kharg are being discussed, Iranian military-aligned media says the island has been reinforced with extra defenses and prepared for a costly landing, though those details remain unverified. If even part of that account is true, Kharg looks less like a soft prize and more like the kind of target that could bleed an assault force on the way in. The island sits in the northern Persian Gulf, and any amphibious approach would have to cross waters that Iran has already demonstrated it can mine and disrupt. The source framed any American attempt to seize maritime routes as a self-destructive strategy. If that is their approach, he said, we are ready. Those claims remain inside Iranian military-aligned media. But the declared posture matches the broader pattern of the war. Iran converting every threatened asset into a fortified position and daring the United States to come closer. Trump addressed the situation from the other end of the spectrum. They are begging to make a deal, he said. Not me. They are begging to make a deal. He said Iran's regime is admitting to itself that it has been decisively defeated. He described the country as unable to make a comeback and said the United States is free to roam over their cities and towns, destroying nuclear weapons, missiles, and drones. He estimated the mission would take 4 to 6 weeks and said at 26 days in, the campaign is a lot ahead of schedule. He called Iran's negotiators great, but added, they are lousy fighters. Trump tied any deal to reopening Hormuz and argued Iran had built a mine-laying threat no normal actor would need, pointing to what he said were 22 mine-dropping vessels the U.S. had already destroyed. Trump's language is victory language. Iran's language is mobilization language. One side says the war is won. The other side says it is mobilizing 1 million people to fight. Both statements cannot be true simultaneously, but both are being broadcast to audiences that need to believe them.
The Wall Street Journal's fake news and all these stories that get printed like, oh, I want to make a deal. They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know they're talking. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators. They are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I don't know if we're willing to do that. They should have done that 4 weeks ago. They should have done it 2 years ago. Or they should have done it when we first came into office, because 2 years ago they had free reign under Biden. Sleepy Joe, worst president in the history of our country. When he allowed to happen to our country at the borders, and even with a thing like this. But not just him. Every president for 47 years, every president should have done this. They should have done it a long time ago, because you cannot give lunatics a nuclear weapon. The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people, this is a disaster. They know it. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. But they're talking to us because they've got a disaster on their hands. They're defeated. They can't make a comeback. We're free to roam over their cities and towns and destroy all of their crazy nuclear weapons and missiles and drones that they're building. Oh, we're doing that. They now have a chance to make a deal, but that's up to them. And they'll tell you, we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal. And if they make the right deal, then the strait will open up. Hormuz Strait will open up. And even now, we don't know if there are any mines. You know, they have 22 they call mine droppers. Think of it. Who would have 22 mine droppers? There's a boat that drops mines. Who has 22 mine droppers? Except for people with very evil intention.
People like this, and what I'm talking about is not the people of Iran. The people that run this country are radical Shia clerics. These are religious fanatics. Look what they are doing now. At their weakest point, this is the weakest Iran has ever been, and look at what they're doing. They're attacking embassies. They're attacking hotels. Imagine what these people would do if they had a nuclear weapon. That is an unacceptable risk for the world. By the way, the president's not just doing a favor to the United States and to our people. This is for the world. He defined very clearly on the first night of this operation what the goal was. We were going to destroy Iran's navy, and that is happening. We were going to, if it hasn't already happened, I'll let Pete speak to the specifics of it. We were going to destroy their missile launching capabilities. And we're well on our way to achieving that goal. We were going to destroy the factory so they couldn't make more missiles and more drones. And that is moving forward. Every single objective the president clearly laid out on the first night of this operation is being effectuated. Again, Pete will speak to the specifics of it. This has been an incredibly successful operation. Every day, it may not get covered because, you know, we're unlike them. We're not bombing embassies and hotels. We're hitting military targets. But every day, the Department of War lets the drummer get wicked over every portion of Iran that has these military capabilities, and the results are going to bear fruit for the world. The world is going to be a safer and a better place when President Trump's mission here is achieved.
We estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission, and we're way ahead of schedule. If you look at what we've done in terms of the destruction of that country, I mean, we're way ahead. Think of it. They have no navy, and they had good ships. 154 ships have been shot down and are resting very nicely at the bottom of the sea. And we did that in a matter of less than a week. Because we have the greatest military in the world by far, nobody even close. So we estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission. 26 days in, we're really a lot ahead of schedule. The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people, this is a disaster. They know it. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. But they're talking to us because they've got a disaster in their hands. They're defeated. They can't make a comeback. We're free to roam over their cities and towns and destroy all of their crazy nuclear weapons and missiles and drones that they're building. Oh, we're doing that. They now have a chance to make a deal, but that's up to them. And they'll tell you, we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal. And if they make the right deal, then the strait will open up. Hormuz Strait will open up. And even now, we don't know if there are any mines. You know, they have 22 they call mine droppers. Think of it. Who would have 22 mine droppers? There's a boat that drops mines. Who has 22 mine droppers? Except for people with very evil intention. So every one of those mine droppers has been struck with the same weapon we used to stop drugs from coming into the United States of America. When we hit those boats, it's the exact same weapon, extremely effective. We have unlimited supplies and extremely effective. But they have no more mine droppers.